This is my review for the 1968 Doctor Who story, The Invasion. This 1968 serial was the launching point for the Doctor Who stories that were to be made during Jon Pertwee's era. The then star of the series, the late Patrick Troughton, had decided to leave the programme after 3 years in the role. This serial brought back the Cybermen with the help of a corrupt business tycoon called Tobias Vaughan. But then the Doctor is lucky because he is helped by a new military organisation called UNIT, United Nations Intelligence Task Force. It is headed by Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, wonderfully played by the late Nicholas Courtney, who would be a regular in the series for the next 7 years. By that time, Tom Baker would be playing Doctor Who. The relationship between Patrick Troughton's Doctor with the Brigadier in this story is very different to the later Doctor Who's. It's much more heavyweight, with a more serious attitude between the two men, which in my opinion is better. It gives a harder edge to their relationship where the story is concerned. Kevin Stoney's sinister performance and characterisation of Vaughan is so menacing that he would have made a superb villain in a James Bond film, even by today's standards. The location work on this serial is superb, backed up by excellent camera work. The odd thing is it was made in monochrome just as colour was beginning to come to British television for the first time, but it gives it a creepy and frightening look to the story which I think works well and still stands up even by today's standards. One of its greatest assets is the incidental music composed by Don Harper. There has been no other incidental music of its kind ever heard in any Doctor Who serial before or since. It bears a strong resemblance to the excellent incidental music used in the war film The Eagle Has Landed. The man who directed The Invasion was the late Douglas Canfield, who already directed several Doctor Who stories. He did 4 with William Hartnell, and this was the second one he made with Patrick Troughton. This was the best Doctor Who serial that Canfield had directed so far. His camera shots are so good that the images the viewer sees are so memorable, to say the least. The long shot of the Cybermen walking down the steps with St Paul's Cathedral behind them. Then the low-angle shot of more Cybermen, this time walking past the pub on a London street. In episode 5 and episode 7 there are several feminist issues which are brilliantly used in those scenes. Especially in episode 7 when the Brigadier persuades Major Bramwell to let Zoe, the Doctor's companion, work out how to aim and calculate the missiles to destroy the Cybermen's fleet of spaceships, which in the end earns Zoe the respect and admiration from a group of all-male soldiers. Unusual then on television, but acceptable today. The chemistry between Patrick Troughton and Kevin Stoney as hero and villain is excellent. Also, the performances of the other actors is well played. Firstly, you have the love interest between the unit captain being Captain Turner and Isabel Watkins. Those two would be the forerunner of Captain Mike Yates and Joe Grant, and eventually Sarah Jane Smith and Naval Lieutenant Harry Sutherland. Next there is the Doctor's 2 young companions, Jamie and Zoe, followed by Packer, Vaughan's henchman, who's more brawn and brain, but is well played by the late Peter Halliday. Then you've got Professor Watkins, Isabel's uncle. Finally there is the unit personnel supported by the British Army. Major Bramwell is part of the regular army, superbly played by Clifford L. Within UNIT itself there is a character who, like the Brigadier, would also be in the series for the next 7 years. That character was Corporal Benton, played by John Levine. He would end up becoming a sergeant and eventually an RSM. This 8-part story became the bridgehead for later Doctor Who serials such as Spearhead from Space, The Silurians, Terror of the Autons, The Demons, Robot and Terror of the Zygons. It is worth watching if you like science fiction that deals with aliens invading Earth. Personally, I rate this Doctor Who serial 10 out of 10. Definitely, it's my favourite, and well worth watching if you like Cybermen, especially the Cybermen stories of the 60s.